But when I started doing my own historical research, what I found, and I found this in just a couple of weeks of work, I mean, it was all in the library and on the internet, is that the founding father of the Arab-Palestinian movement, Hajj Amin al-Husseini, had actually organized enormous terrorist attacks against the Jews of the Yishuv, in other words, the Jews living in British Mandate Palestine, before the creation of the State of Israel. And the fourth terrorist attack organized by Husseini, again the founding father of the Arab-Palestinian movement, called the Arab Revolt. This went from 1936 to 1939. That terrorist attack was organized with weapons sent by Adolf Hitler and Mussolini. And after that, he traveled to Iraq, where he was treated as if he were some kind of head of state. They made him into some kind of cabinet minister with a budget and a bureaucracy. And he used that power to organize the Farhud, which was the destruction of the Jewish community in Baghdad. And then he travels to Italy, where Mussolini receives him as a head of state, and to Berlin then, where Adolf Hitler receives him also as a head of state, with all the pomp and circumstance and the cameras rolling and all the dignitaries out to receive him. And they had a very important meeting. They sat to plan together the extermination of the Jews living in the Middle East. Now that didn't happen because the Nazis were stopped at El Alamein in Egypt, but Husseini remained in Europe for the duration of the war. He arrived in the autumn of 1941. He was recruiting thousands of Muslims to Heinrich Himmler's SS that participated in the Yugoslav chapter of the Holocaust, and he also had a leading role in the administration of the death camp system together with Adolf Eichmann. So we're talking about the founding father of the Arab-Palestinian movement.
The PLO and the PA are currently the only living branch of the trunk that was the Nazi party.
You're wrong about that, because historian Christopher Simpson documented in 1988 that the CIA was created by absorbing tens of thousands of German Nazi war criminals. Tens of thousands. Don't confuse this with Operation Paperclip, which was to bring about 1,000 scientists for NASA. No, that's not what I'm talking about. This is the entire intelligence infrastructure of Foreign Armies East, Fremde Heer Ost, which was run by Nazi General Rinehard Gehlen. What Christopher Simpson did is he managed to obtain a bunch of documents through the Freedom of Information Act that allowed him to establish, immediately after the war, once they captured Rinehard Gehlen, instead of trying him in Nuremberg, they asked him to recreate Hitler's intelligence infrastructure in Eastern Europe, and they absorbed it, and that became the CIA. But not only that, in 1956, the CIA told the West German government that they now had to adopt the Gehlen organization as their own CIA. The Bundesnachrichtendienst, which is the BND, the equivalent of the CIA in West Germany. Rinehard Gehlen became the head of intelligence with his Gehlen org in West Germany. In other words, the German Nazis were returned to clandestine power in West Germany by the United States in 1956. Okay. You and I just got done saying that PLO Fatah was created by the exterminator of the European Jews, Hajj Amin al-Husseini. PLO Fatah is the organization that the Oslo process brought into militarily strategic territory of the Jewish state. Who would do that to the Israeli Jews? Only the enemies of the Jews would do that. Why would you bring into the Jewish state, into militarily strategic territory, an organization created by the Nazi butcher of the European Jews? The US government did that. But what about the people running Israel? That's what you're saying, right? And I'm saying, well, I think that the people who want to destroy the Jewish state would certainly be interested in corrupting the people running the Jewish state, so that they could maneuver the Jewish state into a more vulnerable position that would allow the enemies of the Jewish state to destroy it. If the evidence shows the people running Israel cooperating with the process to destroy Israel, the first hypothesis should be that the enemies of Israel are managing to corrupt the people running Israel.
What should Israeli voters presume to be doing in the current situation?
Well, I think the first thing that Israeli voters should know is what the PLO Fatah really is. The Jewish state was created to protect the Jewish people from Nazi-style genocide. Why the Israeli public was not told what the origin of PLO Fatah was when they were asked to support the Oslo process.
It was actively muted. It is not only... It was actively muted.
It was suppressed. Now, why? How can we explain that the people running the Jewish state did not want Israeli citizens to know that they were bringing German Nazis into militarily strategic territory of Israel?